In every era, writers have shaped the way we think, feel, and understand the world. Behind every powerful novel or a timeless poem is a mind driven by obsession, passion, and an unbreakable need to tell a story. This documentary takes you into the lives of those creators, their struggles, their inspiration, and the moments that changed their work forever. Step into the world of writers who turned their imagination into history.
Hello, my name is Franz Kafka, and this is my masterpiece, Metamorphosis. It follows a story of a man named Gregor Samsa, and who wakes up one morning to find himself transformed as a bug. But this story isn't about the insects, it is all about humans, their identity in the world. Throughout this metamorphosis, Gregor starts to notice that his family sees him as a burden now that he cannot provide for them. He also starts to notice his parents think he's disgusting due to his appearance. He starts to lose his sense of self and his identity and self-worth because of the way of his family treating him. This book is an analogy for depression and disability, but it can be taught in many ways. It can be taught as a criticism on capitalism, because the people who lose their self-worth and they lose their job because of that, they lose their sense of self and place in the world.
My name is Emily Bronte, and this is a story about my novel Wuthering Heights. When I started writing Wuthering Heights, I wanted to create something unlike any other novel of my time. Most stories focused on polite society, manners, and predictable romances, but I was drawn to something darker and more powerful, the violence of human emotions. I wanted to show how love and hatred can live side by side, and how passion can both destroy and save a person. The moors where I grew up became the heart of my story. Their rough beauty, their loneliness, and their constant winds gave me endless inspiration. They present freedom, nature, and the untamed parts of the human soul. I imagine Heathcliff and Catherine as two spirits deeply connected to this wild land, unable to fit into the rules of the world around them. Heathcliff, to me, is not a simple villain or hero. He's a man shaped by pain and rejection, desperate for love yet consumed by revenge. Catherine, on the other hand, is torn between her true nature and society's expectations. Their love is not gentle or peaceful. It is intense, passionate, and destructive, like a storm that cannot be controlled. I knew the Wuthering Heights would shock many readers. It does not offer comfort or easy lessons about morality. Instead, it exposes the raw truth of human nature, how deeply we can feel and how easily we can harm those we love. Through this story, I want to remind people that beauty often exists in darkness, and that even in death, love can refuse to...
Antigone is a tragedy, written by the Greek god Sophocles. The story follows Antigone, the daughter of Odeneus, who defies King Creon. After her brothers die, Creon forbids the burial of Polyaenes, considering him a traitor. Guided by moral duty, family loyalty, and divine laws, Antigone decides to bury him despite the king's command. She is caught and sentenced to death. The tragedy explores the conflict between state law and personal conscience, as well as the consequences of stubbornness and misuse of power. Sophocles was one of the greatest dramatists of ancient Greece. He wrote around 120 plays, but only 7 have survived. He is known for introducing the third actor on stage and strengthens character development, which significantly improves the structure of a Greek tragedy.
Hello, I'm Edgar Allan Poe, and when I wrote The Raven, I aimed to create a poem unlike the softer, polite works of my time. I was drawn to the darker sides of human mind, the grief that lingers, memories that refuse to fade, and the way sorrow can slowly overpower reason. The quiet room at midnight became the center of my poem. In that heavy stillness, where every shadow feels alive, I imagined a man caught between hope and despair, longing for a voice he knows will never return. The raven is more than a bird. It represents the kind of loss that cannot be escaped. Its single word, nevermore, acts like a final judgment, reminding us that some things are gone forever, and no amount of pleading can change that. I knew that raven would disturb many readers. It offers no comfort, only a clear look at how easily a lonely mind can fall into darkness. Through this poem, I wanted to show that most haunting fears often come from within ourselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fyodor Dostoevsky, and today I'll talk about the book that I'm most proud of, called The Gambler. To begin with, my novel, The Gambler, tells the story of Alexei Ivanovich, a young tutor working for a wealthy Russian family in a small German resort town. I wanted to show how a man can become completely consumed by gambling, as Alexei in this book does, hoping to win a fortune and the love of Polina, the woman he adores. But his obsession soon destroys him. He experiences wild wins and crushing losses until he loses control over his life, his money, and even his pride. Through his struggle, I tried to explore the psychology of addiction, the conflict between reason and passion, and the destructive power of greed and desire. These themes were not just fiction to me. They reflected much of what I had seen and lived myself. I wrote The Gambler in only 26 days, driven by the pressure of debt and strict deadline from my publisher. At that time, I too was a gambler, fighting my own weakness. I was helped by a young stenographer named Anna Snitkina, who faithfully wrote down my words and who later became my wife.